what is the difference between lymph and the blood? So students, the next question is the difference between the lymph and the blood. So both lymph and the blood, they are the connective tissue. They are example for fluid connective tissue. Both have got a fluid matrix and the cell suspended in the matrix. Now let us learn what is the difference between the blood and the lymph. So first let's study about the blood. So blood, it is a fluid connective tissue. It contains a fluid matrix called plasma and formed elements. So formed elements include WBC, RBC and platelets. And RBC is the most abundant formed element in the blood, and this is red in color. So due to the most abundant RBC cells in the blood is also red in color. So it is a red colored fluid that contains RBC. The main function of the blood is to circulate the nutrients and oxygen to various parts of the body. Along with that, the waste substances which is generated from the various part of the body, it is collected. So it is associated with circulation of oxygen, carbon dioxide and nutrients and other types of proteins like hormones, ions, etc. from one part of the body to another. So it helps in circulation of nutrients, waste, proteins, etc. And these blood also have got proteins, plasma proteins like calcium, phosphorus. They help in maintaining the blood volume. So the blood is flowed in a specific tissue or a vessels. So here we can see these are the blood vessels, arteries, veins and capillaries. The blood continuously flows within these vessels. It circulates within the vessels. And the WBC cells present in the blood helps to protect our body from the foreign invaders. So these are the characteristics of WBC cells or blood. Now let us see what is the characteristics of lymph. Lymph, like blood, it is not red in color, it is colorless because it does not contain RBC. The blood is red in color because it contains RBC, whereas lymph, it is colorless because it is completely devoid of RBC. It contains plasma. Along with that, it contains WBC and platelets. But the number of WBC and platelets is less when compared to the blood. Now, the main function of the lymph is it helps in body defense and it is a part of the immune system. It helps to get resistance from a particular disease. So, it is a part of an immune system. So, immune system like spleen, thymus, lymph nodes, these are all the organs of immune system. They protect our body and they defend against the foreign substances. So, lymph also helps in defense against a foreign substance and they are part of the immune system, whereas blood is not a part of the immune system. Now, the lymph, that is plasma which is present in the lymph, they do not contain any proteins in it, whereas blood contains proteins in it, proteins, calcium, phosphorus, whereas the plasma of a lymph, they are devoid of the proteins. They do not have any proteins in it. Now, coming to the transportation, circulation, blood helps in circulation of nutrients, oxygen from one part of the body to another. Whereas lymph, since it does not have RBC cells, it cannot transport oxygen, but it transports nutrients from the tissue cells to the blood through lymphatic vessels. So here we can see these are the lymphatic vessels and the lymphatic capillaries. From the blood, there will be a filtration of the plasma and WBC cells which filters and forms a lymph. Now this lymph flows in the lymphatic vessels and it helps in transportation of nutrients from the tissue cells to the blood, and they flow in the lymphatic vessels and this flow is very slow, and finally it's connected to the circulatory system, that is, it connects to the blood. These are the differences between lymph and blood. So blood is red in color due to the presence of RBC, whereas lymph is colorless because it does not contain RBC. Blood contains more of WBC and platelets, whereas lymph has got lesser number of WBC and platelets. So lymph is a part of the immune system since it helps in defense against the foreign substances. Blood is associated with circulation of nutrients and waste within the body. So blood carries proteins, calcium and phosphorus, whereas lymph, they do not carry any proteins. So both lymph and blood, they help in transportation of nutrients. Blood help in transportation of nutrients from one organ to another, whereas lymph, they help in transportation of nutrients from tissue cells to the blood. The flow of lymph is very slow and it finally connects to the circulatory system, whereas the flow of blood in the blood vessels is fast due to the force applied by the heart, and blood circulates from the blood, the filtered fluid forms the lymph. So these are the differences between the lymph and the blood.